In the world of cybersecurity, there's infinite opportunities. Meet some of the industry's best on this episode of Cyber Careers Revealed.
I'm Marcus Session, and I work at Tampa International Airport, and I'm the Vice President of Information Technology Services. So obviously we're a heavily regulated entity, for the nature of what things that we do. The FAA, for example, has a lot of rules and regulations that we have to follow. So that means there's threats that are specific to the aviation space or to an airport space. And we get those bulletins and briefings, and we'll look and make sure that we're, sort of trying to address those and protect against those. Because if you think about it, being disruptive, attackers and hackers and bad guys want to be disruptive. So one thing you can do to be disruptive, can you imagine if you were able to shut down an airport and prevent planes from taking off and landing? That'd be pretty disruptive. If you're traveling and the baggage system went down, and we process, thousands of bags a day. Can you imagine if the baggage system went down, which is also powered by technology? If that went down and you couldn't get your bags, you're going on vacation, you've been looking forward to it, and you get to your destination and your bag is still in Tampa. So those are things that can be, very disruptive to people, and also, dangerous depending on, what's going on. Atlanta Airport, for example, had a very bad Wi-Fi breach that is, well publicized. That was a result of them being connected to the city. So the city got infected and it affected the airport. So a lot of their wireless communication was down. A lot of their systems were locked out because ransomware infected their systems. So they couldn't process payroll, they couldn't get on their Wi-Fi access, passenger travel was disrupted, they had to cancel a lot of flights. So things like that, if you think about it, that's the largest airport in the world in terms of passenger traffic. They do 100 million passengers a year. So 100 million people, potentially, on a daily basis, they're doing several million coming in and out of there. These people are now stuck in Atlanta and they can't leave. There's planes there, but they can't fly them. And so now they think about the ripple effects of that. Different destinations, people can't get there. What if you have a business meeting? What if you're trying to make a funeral? Some people they missed funerals. They missed important family events. They missed important meetings. And all of this, and it's really what's the downstream effect? There was a large cost to that in the millions of dollars for them to remediate that and do it. Like, it's almost, really, I look at it like the analogy of flying planes. You can't make a mistake as a pilot, and we're kind of in the same situation, but we take pride in that, and it's what makes it exciting and what makes it kind of fun. We all got into this because we like technology, and, I was going to build bridges as an engineering, and this is way more exciting than building bridges, let me tell you. In my role, you're going to be in the, you're going to be in six figures, between, and that's one of the things with technology too. It's very diverse and it's very different depending on your organization. So just to give some nuance there, because I think it's important. In the private sector, you're going to make more money than working in the public sector. And for people that maybe not know the differences, private sector is a, privately held company, so for example, Bank of America is a private company. But a county IT position is a public company because it's paid by taxpayer dollars. So it's more transparency, but you generally make a little bit less in those roles. So typically, with that dichotomy, you can go anywhere from, I've seen some of the roles pay, $185,000, which some people would consider low for this type of role and the responsibility that comes with it. But if you're in a smaller county, as an example, you may only have 5 IT staff. You're like, hey, I'm a CIO, but I have 5 people I'm in charge of, but you're still in that role. But I've seen some that can go up to $700,000-$800,000 in a public-private sector environment. But you're going to be in the six figures, anywhere from, like I said, let's say 200,000 to 800,000, depending on the size of your organization and the situation. Those are pretty good things you can expect from being in a CIO role. When you submit your resume, I have to have something to narrow down the field. If I get 300 resumes, I don't know you. Everybody's great, right? But I have to have a way to narrow it down. So the more credentials you have gives me something to say, well, this person's put in more work and effort into their career, and I'm going to have to narrow it down through these credentials. So certifications are always great to have, especially as you go further up the tree. I call it kind of sort of going up the tech tree. But for the entry-level positions, for the most part, tech support, things like that. Like I said, it's just people skills, having worked somewhere, or just just having some good tech knowledge, and then we'll kind of bring you in and you can learn from there. But like I said, the advanced positions later on, you're going to have more credentials and more experience as you go up the tree. So certifications are always a good place to start if the degree thing is maybe more of a barrier to get in, because certifications is just effort. You can just study, get the books, get the knowledge, take a certification class if you want. YouTube is a great resource for certification information, and there's a lot of programs out there that people offer, and that'll help get your foot in the door. Because what some of the CompTIA certifications do is it lets you get a certification to see if that's something you really have an acumen for, because there's a lot of different. It's a very broad field, and there's a lot of ways you can go, and students should want to spend the time to find what's their niche, what am I good at, and what do I like to do, and where do I think I can add the most value, and then go up that tree. Because some students will go, they'll get certifications, they'll get like A+, Security Plus, Network Plus, and all this, and it's like, okay, well, what's your niche? Like, what are you focusing on? Well, I'm good at everything. Well, nobody's good at everything, So I think that's the advice I would generally give. Get involved in local communities or opportunities. Don't be afraid to approach tech leaders and tech companies on LinkedIn. I have people reach out to me on LinkedIn all the time to just say, hey, I'm just looking to get in IT, just looking to connect with some local leaders and just kind of learn some knowledge. And, IT people like to talk. I don't know if you guys have noticed that, we like to talk. Yeah, especially IT leaders. So we're always willing to share knowledge and mentor folks, at least most of the leaders I've run into. So technology is everywhere. And in order for me to bring the right technology, I have to understand how that business unit works. So I can't just go buy an off-the-shelf solution and give it to them. I have to actually understand and fit that with how they do business and what's best for the organization. And if you want to be a police officer, but maybe you aren't physically gifted or can't shoot straight, you can go into cybersecurity and you can catch cyber criminals, right? So, and if you want to create the future of the world, you can do software engineering and create new software and new AI interfaces and ways of doing things that'll be revolutionary. And if you go into the technology fields, you get to be a part of that and stake your claim to how you want to do it. And you can have a lasting impact. Like there's buildings and things that I built networks for here in the Tampa Bay area in my time at USF and things like that are still here. And one of them is a place where they do healthcare. And I'm like, they're doing surgeries in there because of the network I built, so you can get gratification. So if you want to know you're making an impact, you can do that. If you want to make money, you can do that. If you want to connect with people, you can do that. So technology is a field that the possibilities are limitless. You can forge your own path, or you can just help someone continue to revolutionize the world.